So tell me a little bit I read a little bit of it, but tell me a little bit more about how did you become a relationship coach?
Ooh, okay. Yeah. So I actually started coaching as a women's empowerment coach, right? So it was just kind of about recovering from burnout, being empowered, being confident, stepping into your light. Essentially, the end goal was being an empowered woman, right? But as I started coaching and working with women, I found this like common denominator that these women wanted to better themselves for themselves, but they were also like, I'm looking for my man, right? I'm looking for a
Okay.
partner. I'm looking for my soulmate. I feel like I'm at a crossroads or, something is missing inside of myself. And that's why I haven't found my person. And I was working with my own business coach, and she was like, you know what, Adriana, where you really shine is in like the feminine energy, the love and relationship stuff. So, how
Mm-hmm.
would you feel about like kind of pivoting, just in a different direction a little bit? And I was like, yeah, that seems really good because it just seems like that's kind of just where, like my light comes in. I love the relationship chat, um, feminine and masculine energy as far as polarity goes. So it just kind of
Mm,
evolved. It just evolved into that. And I'm still doing an empowerment program. But yeah, I became a relationship coach because so much of the feminine and masculine energy is about attraction or repulsion, right? And it's all about romantic relationships, at least the part that
mm-hmm.
I like talk a lot about. So yeah, it just kind of happened that way. And it's been such a beautiful journey. So yeah, that's kind of how it came about.
Okay. Just in that, there's a lot to pull on. And
Yeah.
so I want to ask you about this dynamic, right? Because I'm totally with you on this like polarization and between the feminine and the masculine energy. Um, but before we get there, like I kind of want to distinguish what is this difference between empowerment? How does that affect your relationship? Like, what does an empowerment coach look like? What are you teaching in that?
Yeah, okay. So the thing is the methodology of how a woman gets to like the end goal is still the same, whether it's relationship or empowerment. So I guess really what's changed is just the end goal of it, but it's really about, yeah, so becoming empowered. This is when the woman, we do a lot of the heart healing stuff first, right? We go deep into the shadows, we go deep into the
Mm,
wounding. I go straight for the heart because the truth is like the woman wants to, or she needs to feel safe enough to get to that
mm-hmm.
place of being empowered, confident, and feminine within herself.
Okay.
So really the empowerment piece is all about confidence, right? And finding your own purpose without needing to kind of fulfill that with someone else or look for validation. So that's a big part of it. Kind of like becoming whole on your own. A lot of these
Mm,
women, like they're lost and they feel like they don't even really know themselves, or they've lost themselves in their past relationships and that kind of a thing. So it's really just coming back home to themselves, right? That's the empowerment piece. And then when they
mm-hmm.
do that, they can come into their softness and their radiance because they feel safe and they know who they are, So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit more about what that process looks like? I'm definitely with you too on this because I think it's not really any different for the masculine and the men. How it shows up and how it manifests in their behavior and their feelings and their perspective is probably very different, right? But
Mhm.
this like core this common denominator of coming home to yourself,
Yeah.
becoming whole, or at least feeling like you're whole, right? And, you know, I guess something that you mentioned was that they feel like they don't really know themselves or they lost themselves in a relationship. And I think that's happened. I can see that happening on both sides. But I think
Mhm.
personally, from my perspective, I think what I see a lot more of is maybe people didn't know themselves to begin with. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so so yeah, could you talk to me a little bit more about the process of what that looks like. Maybe, you get a woman that's like, I want this and I want to be empowered and I want to feel these things and these are my goals. And then they learn through this process that actually, like, I also want to find my soulmate or my partner or something like that. Like, what
Yeah.
does this work? What does this work look like? How do you bring them home?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's get deep into it. So it really starts with childhood wounding. Let's be real, right? So we go back to like the source, like what is the root of you not feeling good enough, right? Or not feeling chosen, or whatever the root of their wounding is. So we go way back to childhood, right? To their first traumatic experiences or, wounding that they experienced from their parents. We talk a lot about parental dynamics between, mom and dad, kind of how that relationship was and how that developed their self image, right?
Mm,
That's kind of where it starts. And we go deep into that. And then after we do that, we come home to the inner child, right? That's a huge part of this. So that way they can cultivate safety within. A lot of the women that come to me, right? As a feminine energy coach, a lot of these women, they're extremely guarded. They're extremely in their masculine energy and they are like that for a reason. And typically it's because of the trauma they went through when they were young. So, really, it's about, like I said, cultivating safety and coming home to themselves looks like finding the safety within. So, we do a little bit of inner child work. We also work on rewriting limiting beliefs. So like all their negative self-talk, right? Or how they grew up feeling like they weren't good enough to be loved by their parents, right? Or something like that. If they were abandoned, right? We work on the abandonment wounds. It's different for every woman, but once they come home to themselves and their inner child, we then do, certain things like mirror work. We do NLP techniques, right? Where we're really working on like rewiring the way that they, are processing information, right? Their viewpoints on the world. We go straight into the heart and then we go to the mind. And every woman's journey is different, but yeah, we're also moving energy in the program. So we're doing a little bit of somatic work as well, helping kind of calm the nervous system, reframe certain blocked emotions that are inside the body, because that's a huge
mm-hmm,
part of it too. So yeah, the first 6 weeks of the program are pretty intense, right?
mm-hmm,
But that's the beautiful stuff. Those are the big breakthroughs that we have. And then once we've really kind of healed the foundation, I like to explain it like that. Like we're going to go straight to the root. We're going to really heal and nourish the root, and then we're going to build it up from there. So once we do that kind of work, we go into human design and we work on confidence and we work on purpose. We work on strengths and all of that really helps them step into their power and be like, "Oh my gosh, I am such a powerful woman. This is why I am the way I am." So it's just so beautiful. It's like breaking it down to then build it up. And then we get into feminine energy, right? So then first thing we do is we work on helping them have cultivate a really good relationship with their inner masculine. A lot of people are like,
mm.
why would you do that in like a feminine energy course, right? Like
Yeah,
why are we
yeah.
gonna do that? I don't want to be masculine. But the
Mm-hmm,
truth is like to get to our feminine, we have to have a safe connection with our own inner masculine because we have to be able to hold ourselves, right? So
mm.
we do that. We heal our relationship with the masculine, our beliefs about men, right? So I'm just chopping down all the walls as we go, right? And these women are
Yeah.
they're softening into it, right? And it's so amazing to see the transformation of how these women are like glowing and like blossoming in this program. And I'm like, wow, this stuff works, right? So yeah, after that we talk a little bit about the foundations. So what actually
Mm-hmm,
is masculine and feminine energy? What do the dynamics look like in dating? Then we get into dating and relationships, healthy pacing, that kind of a thing. We talk a little bit about sexuality, connecting to like the sensual, dark feminine. We go through the archetypes. Yeah, we do so much. We do so much in this program. So I could go on
Yeah.
all day.
No, that's amazing. And I can like I don't know if this is terrible. Like I've done so much work and it sounds like you have too, right? And
Yeah.
you understand that like the process is never ending, I think. You know, I don't think I ever get to a place where I feel there's moments where I'm whole, right? And that's like a reminder. But then there's like I think relationship is the greatest mirror and the greatest spiritual tool for growth because that relationship, your relationships and how you react to those things are going to trigger you. They're going to pull out all the crap that you still need to work on. Right. And I can
Yes.
just think of so many people that I'm like, wow, they need this, they need what you're serving.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what do you, what do you say to somebody that maybe like rolls their eyes or doesn't think that they have childhood trauma or anything? My perspective, and I think what I've learned in the research, at least more of the scientific literature, right, is that, I mean, I like the definition of trauma as anything that has impacted you and changed your behavior. Like, right. So I think some people think of like, oh, I didn't have like a physically abusive home, or I didn't go to war and experience PTSD, but you experienced something in your relationship with your parents that fundamentally would have altered your behavior had it not happened. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Great point. So a lot of the women that come to me, they're aware, right? They're aware that something went down, right, in their childhood that's affected them for their life, or they at least recognize their patterns to the point where they're like, you know what? Yeah, I need to get help. But if there is a woman who is less aware, less conscious of that, um, as she shares her childhood with me, and I think this is one of my strong suits, right? I studied psychology a long, long time. And I know a lot about like wounding and trauma and that kind of a thing. So what I do is essentially like I just analyze their situation and their childhood and their beliefs about themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
I find the pattern, right? And I can kind of pinpoint, okay, this is actually where it came from. Whether you're aware of this or not, this is what it looks like, right? And then I go deeper with them and I ask them questions to kind of reaffirm that. So
Mm-hmm.
even if they're like, I don't really think I have childhood trauma or whatever it is. And sometimes it's not always childhood. It's relationships like adult relationships
Mm.
that have caused them to then be mistrusting, get into their masculine energy or whatever it is. So really, I just help them get to the root of it. And I'm like, look, this came from somewhere. Let's figure it out. Let's figure it out together. Right. And
Yeah.
they're
Like,
always up for it. Yeah.
yeah, it sounds, yeah, you're just sort of reverse engineering, like, okay, this is the behavior that you have, or this is the belief that you have. And everything has an origin. So that has an origin too.
Yeah. Yeah. So where did it come
Okay.
from?
Yeah, because I feel like I meet a lot of people that they have a behavior or they're not finding the relationship that they want, right? But they can't pinpoint exactly what the issue is. And I'm a firm believer that you attract what you are in some way. Sometimes it doesn't look exactly the same, right? Like it doesn't manifest the same, but like there is, I'm trying to avoid this sort of like woo woo language of you attract your vibrational frequency because I think one, that deters a lot of people. And two, it's so vague. A lot of people don't understand it, but there is something inside of you that is attracted to that person. And there's something
Mm,
inside of you that attracts that person to you as well. And
mhm.
sometimes those like, those, I don't know, that thing inside of you that maybe is not healthy, right, is the same, and sometimes it's not exactly the same, but they're complementary.
Yeah, yeah, you said it beautifully. And you said this in the beginning is that relationships are always a mirror, right? We're always attracted to kind of the unfinished business, right? Like have you heard this before that we have with our
So
parents
good.
or we have with our past relationships because and I don't know why. We're not going to get super philosophical here, but um inside we want to be able to heal that. Like we have this knowing that we need to face it and heal it, so we're attracting that, right? So we can evolve, right? That's what we do as humans. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, absolutely. Every single time, I think a great point that you made was it's not always the exact same packaging. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't look exactly the same, but like the
Yeah.
core wounding or the core, you know, frequency, if we want to call it that, that's there. That's always there. And you'll see it every single time. And I'm sure you've experienced this, and so have I, right? Over and over again. And it's like, okay, what am I supposed to learn here? Right. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I also love what you just said there, that question, because it took me a long time to get to that point of, okay, I'm here again, or I'm doing this. And, now the framework for me is whether it's career, it's relationships, like a romantic relationship or a different type of relationship. It is, okay. My first question is, what am I being taught? What am I supposed to learn here? Before, right, it was before I had this awareness, it was, why can't they be like this? Why is this situation like this? Why, like, what's wrong with them or the situation or these people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, I just wanted to say, I think that's such a powerful reframe and question, and it changes entire dynamics and how you look at things and how you confront challenges, right? And it gives you so much more autonomy in in the direction of your life. I
100%.
certainly, yeah. And it's funny too, because the relationships, right? Like, since they're a mirror, even doing all the work that I have done over the past maybe 13, 14 years, and I still find myself sometimes repeating the same freaking thing. And I'm like, God dang it, here we are again. Here we are again. For me, it usually shows up in like trying to save people, like trying to help people. It could be my romantic partner, it could be my friends. I'm like, dude, it's so clear. Just do this, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's an ongoing struggle for me.
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So, all right, let's break down this concept of what is feminine energy, what is masculine energy. How do you describe that?
Yeah, that's great. Gosh, there's so many things you said before that I wanted to point out, but you know
Yeah,
what?
point it
We're
out.
Oh, okay,
Whatever you
okay, yeah.
want.
Yeah, so gosh, so many things. Yes, no matter how far along you are on the journey, right? I think I'm about like 13 years in deep as well. It's so funny because you still see certain patterns. Yeah, you're like, haven't I done the work? Like, what? You know what I mean? But I feel like we then kind of catch ourselves, like you said, we reframe it, we show up in a different way. We then, like, I had this problem too of like wanting to save people because I could kind of see the best way, and you love them, you want to help them. Really
Hmm.
learning to kind of step back and like allow them to have their own journey, right, and that kind of a thing. So wanted to point that out. And yeah, there were a couple other things you mentioned, but I think you just said it beautifully. Relationships are a mirror where the work is never done. And yeah, about autonomy, and just taking responsibility, I think is the biggest thing for the relationships you have and what you create in your life, right? People struggle with this. And I think that's the one thing I really want to show people as a coach and teach them is that it starts with you. You are actually a piece of this. You caused
Hmm.
this, right? Let's be
Yeah.
real. Very much tough love. What's your part in this? What do you need to learn
Yeah.
from this, right? And even if it's just you and I, we've been on the road for a long time now. It might just be a small piece that we need to pick up from that person, and then still work on
Hmm.
breaking the cycle, right? But so, anyways, thank you for sharing a little bit about your experience. Yes, I can relate 100%. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Maybe it's just we pick something up from this person on the road it made me think of that quote, like people are in your life for reasons, seasons, and maybe life. And I
Yeah.
never know. So now I just reframe it. I'm like, maybe this person is this, or maybe this person is this, but like, what can I learn from this? And I mean, it's a completely different topic, but I love the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. It's a little bit, it's super masculine, right? It's usually because he's a Navy SEAL, and it's
Okay.
focused on business or showing up in life. But I think that he gives a really great example of they had a really terrible time in combat. Some things didn't go well. They lost some people, but they had a culture of taking responsibility. And I
Mm,
don't see, or maybe this isn't mine, but I do believe it's true that every relationship actually is a romantic relationship in some form. So if that's a relationship with a group that you work with or your friends or your actual significant other, like the greatest thing that I think the party can do or what you can instill is a culture of taking responsibility, right? Even
yeah.
like I find that even if somebody starts like a problem and you have an argument or something, that old phrase, like it takes two to tango. I've never seen an argument take place where one person refuses to participate.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's interesting. So after okay, so after an argument is instigated, like someone's like, "Hey, I have a problem with XYZ." You mean like you haven't seen someone like just step away from the argument? Or you
No,
mean
I'm saying
they didn't play a part
it,
in it?
like I've never seen an argument take place where both parties didn't play a part. Like if somebody just removes themselves from the situation or doesn't add anything to the argument, I don't like you stifle it. Like I don't think there can be an argument.
Yeah, yeah.
That can make some people feel uncomfortable, I think, because they're so used to the argument and they
Yeah.
want the argument, um
Yeah, I could
but
see
yeah,
where
I say all that to say like yeah, there like whatever the issue is, I think there's always a way to look at it that you have some sort of responsibility that you can take in the situation or the result that you're seeing.
love it. Yeah, absolutely agree, right? Like we said before, we're attracting the situation, right? Where it's our mirror. And you're right, it's not. Ooh, I love this phrase of like every relationship is like a romantic relationship in a sense. Yeah, I can totally see that. And I think the common denominator is, yeah, the mirror. We're always reflecting back ourselves, right? So what's coming
Mm-hmm.
up in this argument that I need to heal? How can I handle this with integrity or, in my highest regard? What can I learn from this, right? Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
we're such a big piece of it, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
every single time.
Yeah.
And taking ownership. I'm sure, after reading that book and doing the self work, that's huge for success in relationships. Is taking ownership, taking accountability for what you've
Mm-hmm.
done or what you could do better, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I do find the problem that people struggle with that though, I think too, like that can be taken to an extreme as well. And it's like, whereas you have to find this balance of, okay, I take responsibility and I take ownership for the way that I'm showing up or contributing to the situation. But it's a fine line between taking responsibility and ownership of how you're contributing and then taking on somebody else's crap too.
100%. Yes, that's where the self-respect and boundaries comes in, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I guess you find if you find it like I do, there's people usually tend to fall on one side or the other. Like they really have a hard time putting boundaries, placing boundaries with people, and maybe speaking up about what their needs are. And then
Yeah.
you have the other people that maybe are a little bit aggressive with their boundaries or what they think and what they want and what they need.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the ultimate goal is to get in the middle, right? To be able to, at least for the women I work with too, have your boundaries, assert yourself, have that strong relationship with yourself, but also be soft, right? Take accountability, listen to someone else, be compassionate, right? So yeah, finding
Mm,
that balance. And it's the same with masculine and feminine energy. We're just trying to find a really healthy balance, right? But
yeah.
leading with our feminine. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe this is a good point to where
Yeah.
you can break that down for me.
Yeah.
What is the feminine? What is the masculine? And then
Yeah.
how do we figure out what that balance is, you know?
Love it. Okay. So, yeah, feminine energy. Okay, so let's start here. Irrespective of gender, you know this already. But a lot of people don't. We all carry masculine and feminine energy within us, right? Typically, we see women who have an innate feminine energy to their core. That's just what we see most often. It's not always like that. And then same
Mhm.
with men. Typically they have more of an innate masculine energy at their core, whether they're in tune with that or not. Um, but it's still innate, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah, we all carry those energies. The ultimate goal is for us to have a very healthy balance of those energies. But for a woman who is innately feminine at her core, we want to have a healthy balance, but we want to always lead from the feminine, right? And
Mm.
I'll get to why in a minute, but yeah, let me explain a little bit about what feminine energy is. So, feminine energy is really about it's sensual, right? It's very playful. It's free flowing. It's like the singing and dancing. It's the loving or being connected to your heart really, right?
Mm.
It's soft and it's nurturing and it's compassionate. And it's I think sensual is a great word for it. And I don't just mean sexually, I mean in life. You're very much like connected to your pleasure of the experience, right? Of
Mm.
colors, of the aesthetic, of a piece of chocolate. Like you're just connected to your heart and the feeling, right? It's a feeling. And for the masculine, it's the doing, right? So the feminine is the being, masculine is the doing.
That's a great way to
And
put it.
yeah, yeah. And, it's more structured, right? It's logical, goal oriented. It's about purpose, right? And I like to explain it this way. Masculine energy is like the riverbed. And maybe you've heard this before, right? But it's the riverbed. It's what holds and grounds the water, which is the feminine, right?
Yeah, I've heard something similar. It's like the bowl that holds the water. It's the
Yeah.
container. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I do love that metaphor. Yeah.
Yeah, because masculine energy, divine masculine energy is very grounded, right? And it's very present. Um, it's dependable, right? This is something you talked about on one of your podcasts. I think it was with Zach, maybe. But yeah, it's dependable, right? It is there. It's going to hold the space. It's going to create a safe space for the feminine to flourish, right?
Mm. Yeah, I think we run into this like the chicken or the egg debate, like what started what, and they probably both started at the same time, right? But that conversation with Zach, something it's like something I'm passionate about. It upsets me a little bit, to be honest, but I also try to have compassion for the way that it unfolded. But I think a lot of the issues that we see today are with men being, there's a lack of men that are dependable, you know? And maybe from that, like, the feminine has felt that they need to step more into the masculine, and because there isn't that safe container, you know.
Hmm.
um and then yeah, the chicken before the egg, right? Like, did that
Yeah.
happen because some were already doing that, and then, now
Yeah.
there's a lot of evidence now and statistics that men are just not doing too well in society in general, and that they have lost that sense of purpose, that loss of um providing and being the container and being dependable and the doing, you know.
Right, right. And something that you mentioned in that episode too is like, yeah, is there an attack on masculinity? Right? Like what is going on? Yeah, I absolutely
Yeah.
agree with you. Where did it start? I mean, we can't really say, right? And that's up for another podcast, but yeah, it's where did it start? So it's like either that, and then I also see it from another point of view, and it's like, okay, we have like, since feminine power is coming back, then we have like the boss babe movement, like
Oh,
the overly independent woman. Yeah, let's bring it
yes.
up. Let's bring it up. Like it's
Tell me about it because it drives me up the wall. It annoys me as soon as I see it. I'm like, please stop, But yeah, tell me what your opinion is on it.
Yeah. So, okay, I am all for women being ambitious and connected to having a healthy
Mm-hmm.
relationship with their masculine, right? I am a deeply feminine woman, right? I very, very resonate with that. But I also have a great connection with my masculine energy. So I'm a successful entrepreneur, right? Like, so yeah, am I a boss babe? Yeah, I'm a, you know, business owner and I'm doing my own thing and I'm my own boss and that's great and everything. So I don't want to say that, I'm completely against the idea of a woman being empowered and kind of like being able to provide for herself. Like that's great. Hell yeah, girl, go get your dreams. But
Mm-hmm.
it's really the knowing of when to shut that down. Right? So it's like,
Mm.
yeah, be connected to your masculine while you're working, while you're networking, you're building your business, you're coaching, whatever. But then know to shut that down at the end of your workday and get into
Mm-hmm.
your feminine, especially
Yeah.
when you're with your masculine partner. Lead from your feminine. It's okay to step into your masculine, but I don't agree that a woman should be boss babe all the time, 24 hours a day, and
Mm-hmm.
think that that is her sole identity. To
Yeah.
me, right? And this is my opinion. It's a way of running from your feminine or running from your safety in a way. You
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I want to clarify, I'm 100% with you. Like, and in fact, it's something that I've admired about some of the women that I've dated. Um, is that some of them were very connected to that masculine and they were very successful and stuff like that. But it did feel like they didn't know where to leave that. And what I see with this like sort of boss babe movement, like you're a bad bitch stuff, which I hate. Like, I don't even understand why a woman would call herself a bitch, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, that's another topic. But what I don't really like about that is one, if a man is like, I'm a boss, blah, 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 like we all know that man has insecurity because a real boss, a real leader, right, doesn't necessarily need to tell other people that they are. So, like, what is this movement? What is this thing? Like, you have to put that in your Instagram profile, or your title, or tell people, or go, yes, boss babe, yes, bitch, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're not good enough with how you are on your own that you need to tell other people about it like that and put it out there and shove it in men's faces and stuff like that. I don't think
Yeah.
it's equal for men. Like the moment that I see a man do that, I'm just like, who are you trying to prove yourself to here? you know?
Yeah. I absolutely agree with you there. And I feel like from what I've experienced with coaching women, it's just another way to have control. Right? Because
Mm.
they don't feel
Mm-hmm.
confident or safe within themselves. That's what it is. And yeah, it's being in your wounded masculine. It's having your guard up, needing to have like the upper hand or to be
Yeah.
competitive. That's the wounded masculine. A lot of women are they're competing with men. They want to show that they're superior or that,
Mm-hmm.
they don't need men. Oh yeah, it's
So
crazy to me.
can you break that down for me a little bit? And I just want to give you a little preface as to why. As a man, when I've dated women that I know are a little bit more in their feminine or more comfortable, but it seems like some of them don't know, they don't have access to the masculine. So I lose confidence in their ability to make decisions or to have a sense of purpose outside of me or not get their validation from other people and stuff like that. And that has
Mm,
pushed me away. And yet at the same time, as a man, something I crave and some of their strengths is that feminine, that ability to soften and to listen and to want to be taken care of. And I love that. And then on the other side of that, women that are very connected to their masculine, right? Like, but like they're goal oriented, they're very independent and responsible. And that's something that I admire as well. And it's very difficult to find this sort of balance that you're talking about where they can do that, they can be independent, but then it like gets turned into this thing where they feel insecure and now they're competing with me or something like that. And I'm like, wait, why are you trying to compete with me? I'm not your enemy. Like, what's the goal here? Like, our relationship, we're a team, right? Don't make me the
right.
enemy, you know? And don't try to compete with me because I don't want to and we don't need to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Talk to me a little bit more about what that is. Like, what is that wounding? How do you fix, I don't know, how do you heal that, you know?
Yeah, okay. Usually, of course, this is the feminine being in her wounded masculine, right? There's so much to unpack here, but yeah, it's a woman's way of, like I said, wanting to stay in control, right? And be in her wounded masculine because she doesn't, for some reason. Now, sometimes it is because the man hasn't given her, you know, that sense of safety, or like she doesn't feel like she can trust him. But if
Mm,
this man is showing up, he's a safe, high value man. He's in his masculine, he's doing all he can, but she's still like wanting to compete and not get there. It's because she has usually um unprocessed beliefs about the masculine, like an unhealthy relationship with her father or the masculine in her life. So she still just doesn't trust men, or she
mm-hmm,
just doesn't feel safe within enough to be in her feminine energy and allow this man to lead, right? She still has the
mm,
belief that feminine energy or being vulnerable makes her weak in some way. She's afraid. So I think the root of that is like a trust issue, specifically with men when we're really trying to compete, or insecurity and we're trying to really prove ourselves and we're doing it in a wounded masculine way,
right.
right?
Yeah.
We're trying to prove that we're better or prove our worth or something like that. So yeah, insecurity or trust issue really is kind of what it comes down to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh man, tell me about where does where do you see this like power lies? Because or tell me what you think about this train of thought. Um when I reflect on my relationships, right? And when I think about this concept of men and women competing with each other, it's always sort of turned me off. I don't think I know that another man I don't think I know another man that is turned on by it, right? But
Yeah.
like when I reflect on all my past relationships, the things that inspired me were always the things that I considered to be softer or more feminine. And like I have this belief that that is where their true power lies, right? It's not in this doing thing and it's not in this competing thing and it's not showing how I'm superior or whatever, but it's in this ability to inspire the masculine,
Yeah.
you know. What do you
Beautifully
think about that?
said. Oh my
Okay.
gosh,
Okay.
beautifully said. Yeah, I'm very excited to share about this. Yes, that is the secret. So basically what we're seeing, let's go back to, like you said, I'm not attracted to this, right? Let's go back to that. Because what's happening is like an example, you're in your masculine, right? You're in your masculine energy. And when this woman is trying to compete with you, like what is it? What is the expression? Head on head, like trying to compete with you.
Yeah.
She's in her wounded masculine energy. So what's happening is there's two masculine energies here, and it will create something called repulsion, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
going to kill attraction faster than anything possible in the relationship, right? That's why you're like, I
Mm-hmm.
am not attracted to this. No way. No healthy masculine man is going to be attracted to that. Even the wounded masculine man isn't going to be attracted to that. Don't try to compete with your man like that. Um, of course, voice your opinion. You know, it's okay to be assertive in your feminine energy. Like, hey, actually, I disagree with you. This is why. But do it in a soft and loving way. You know what I mean? Like, try to open his mind a little bit by expressing your heart, right? And communicate from the heart. That's what I teach women because that's what a healthy masculine man is going to hear, right? He's going to hear
Mm-hmm.
it when it comes from her heart. And yes, that is where her true power lies. And I think we've talked about this before. Hell yes. It is in our ability to be in our feminine energy and inspire him to be whatever, be the best man he can be, to be better, to open his mind, to be that provider, all the things that make him feel so alive and lit up that we need him, right? To show him that we need
Mm-hmm.
him, we hear him. And one of the things that it's my understanding, you know, with men that I've talked to is they really want to be accepted. Like they just want to be accepted for who they are, and they don't want to try to be changed or
Mm-hmm.
forced, right? And that's another conversation. But yeah, that really inspires him. Like, just inspire me to be better. Don't try to like change me or make me be anything else.
Right. And it's something that I try, there's two things I want to say there,
Yeah.
right? Is like one, I love this, or I like to use this example, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, right? But like men have literally started wars with other countries in human history for, in like the name of a woman or something, you know? Or like
Yeah.
men go to war, World War II. I think of both my grandparents were World War II veterans. I was a veteran. Like I didn't go to war for this concept of like the US or, you know, maybe a part of that is the values that it stands for and stuff, but it's also for like my friends and my family and the kids, right?
Yeah.
And there's this great book by Stephen Pressfield, if you know who he is. He's a great author and he's written a book called The Gates of Fire, which is required for every Marine to read.
Oh,
And but it's actually got some really sweet, like sensitive spots. It's a very masculine book, right? Because it's about Spartans and basically the story of 300. But there's a moment in
mm,
there where one of the younger ones is talking to an older mentor, sort of, because they had this really good mentor system. And he was like, you know, the best part of me, the best thing about me is actually my other half. It's the feminine aspects, right? It's the art, it's the love, it's the softness, it's all those things, it's the poetry. That's why we go and do what we do, to protect those things, you know.
ooh, yeah.
Um and yeah, I love that because it speaks to my heart. I think it's very true for any man that is in their core, you know, masculine. Um and then, you know, the other thing I wanted to ask you, this one is more of a question, but like when you're like, okay, don't compete with them, and you said you can assert your boundaries. I love that. Please do. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you're feeling, and I want to know how I can hold that space for you better, right? How I can be a better container for that. But if you do it in a way that's attacking me or competing with me, you're automatically putting me into that like defensive protector warrior mode, right? And now you've just
Yeah.
turned me into my enemy. How do you teach somebody to communicate from the heart? How do you teach them to assert themselves and place their boundaries or speak their mind and their opinion from the heart?
Yeah, okay. Ooh, it's, really it's a practice, right? So, I go over it's a practice, yeah, because women a lot of women are not used to doing this, and they actually don't know how, right? So, there's actually strategies to this. And really it starts with when we communicate from our feminine energy, we do it from a soft, loving place. So it starts with like, first, like an example, if I was going to teach a woman how to do this right now in a
Mm-hmm.
session, I would say something like, okay, if you're going to disagree with your partner, first tell him what you value about what he just said. Like, start from the heart. I really value your opinion, right? I can see why you feel that way on this topic. Like, acknowledge that, come from your heart, but then
Mm,
assert how you actually feel, like about what you believe about it. So after you acknowledge him, but I feel like this, and that, and this is why I believe it, you know? And I
mm-hmm.
think it's okay to disagree on this, or can we talk a little bit more about it so we can open up each other's minds? Right? So really it's just about coming from like this loving, accepting place, right? Acknowledging them and then doing it. I guess I don't know how to explain it really. Just doing it from the heart in a loving way instead of like, I need to prove my point to you right now. Like, this is actually how it is. Like, no, don't
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
think about the end goal from your mind. Think about it from your heart and feel it, right? You have to help a
Mm,
man feel this. He
mm-hmm.
wants to feel it, right? And challenging him and making him, I don't know how to explain it, making him think like that is yeah, it's not going to get you anywhere, right? Because then it's just masculines butting heads. So that's
Yeah.
that's how you start it. Yeah, it's soft communication. It's understanding and it's loving.
I mean, I would like to maybe unpack that with like different scenarios and stuff like that, but I
Yeah.
think I understand the concept, right? Like what I heard from you was like what it would, at least I'll start with what it would do for me. If you acknowledged my perspective, right? And you said like, hey, I really appreciate that, or I value what you just said and I understand that. Like I feel heard.
Yeah.
I feel heard and I feel seen and I feel maybe understood as well. And I think whether you're a man or a woman, we're all seeking to be seen and understood. So I think that's kind of what your method does or allows the man to feel when you come from that place, right? As opposed to putting me in this place of like, oh no, I don't feel understood. I feel attacked. And like now what I need to do is protect myself or assert myself. Um, and I'm not, are you familiar with Jack Cornfield?
No.
So there's this, I don't know, like in Buddhism, right? Because I study a lot of mindfulness and the Eastern traditions and philosophies. And I've said this before, but the name for mind and heart is actually the same. It's chitta, right? So
Wow.
sometimes we don't really know exactly, or the way that I think about it is they're actually just connected, right? The mind and the heart are connected. And Jack Cornfield is a wonderful psychologist and Buddhist teacher. Highly recommend him. But he has this saying where bodhicitta means awakened mind or awakened heart. So what he says is you're aware, you stay present and aware and mindful, but you rest in the heart space. You rest in your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I love
I
that.
I try to practice that. And yeah, I love that too, because I think that is always like my continued evolution in practice is always like, how do I stay aware? How do I stay present? How do I not get too attached, but show up with everything that I can and have and be fully involved? And when things don't go my way, how do I not revert to closing down or closing my heart, you know?
Yes. The reason why this piece is so important is because ultimately a man is looking to be respected and admired
Mm,
by his woman.
yes.
There we go.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
goal.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gold for a masculine
Oh
man.
man.
He wants to be
Yes,
respected and
absolutely.
admired. Yeah. So the moment he feels like he isn't, his guard is going to go up, repulsion is going to happen, communication is going to be blocked. That's why it's
Mm,
so important. Yeah.
that is gold for both like
Yeah.
men to understand, I think, why they get triggered, right? But also for women to understand like what is a core need for a man and the masculine, especially I think a high value man, right? Because like this term high value, like a man that knows his worth and whatnot, just like a high value woman, is not going to put up for that shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Well said.
Um, yeah, is probably just not going to put up with that. But like if you want to really inspire a man, like soften up and then show them that you admire him and that you respect him. Even in the middle of
Yep.
a confrontation, I think, yeah, absolutely. That's what we're looking for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why you start with that, right? You start with that. I love you and I respect you so much. This is how I feel about it, right? And it's
Mm,
okay. It's okay if we disagree. But yeah, I need to speak my truth. That's part of the feminine. We do need to speak our truth as well. So, yeah, I love that. That's a great piece. And when we talk about core needs, this is a great topic too, is for a man, it's respect and admiration, right? And for a
mm,
woman, it's
yes.
cherished and valued. Cherished and
It's
valued.
cherished and valued. Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Now, we
yeah.
all we all need these things. A woman wants respect and admiration too. A man wants to be cherished and valued too. But these are the core needs, right? A woman wants to feel
Yeah.
cherished. That's the perfect word for it. She wants to feel chosen and fully valued by that man. So,
Mm,
yeah, if we reverse it, would be so healthy for the masculine to say, I value your opinion so much. But this is what I believe on the topic, right? That kind of a thing. So just kind of flipping the script. So yeah.
mm, yeah. The challenge, I think, with that is that, I mean, so much of that is gold. And that's gold for me to remember too. Like the core need for the feminine is to be cherished and valued. And I don't know if there's going to be any men listening, but there's a great book on masculinity and like the father wound and what really goes on for most men probably. And it's called Wild at Heart. I'm not sure if you read it. If you want to
No, but
dive
that
into
sounds
them,
great.
it's
Yes.
a little it's a little bit like from a Christian lens, but I think regardless there's a lot of wisdom and it's very true. So I don't remember the author, but what he says in Wild at Heart is he's like a man um wants he basically says the same thing. He wants to be respected, admired, but he's like his more what's more important to him too is adventure and purpose. And a man shouldn't make his purpose his significant other, his woman, right? But at the same time, I don't think a woman really wants a man that like finds his purpose in her, but she wants to be like along for the ride. He uses this analogy of like every woman wants to be seen like daddy's little princess in a sense. And I don't know if that's like I hope that's not degrading or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. So you were talking about, like daddy's little princess, but I think you were getting at,
Yeah,
I think you were,
you'll have to read the book because I just think he says it in a different light, right? But I think that
sure.
the point was what you were talking about was that like every woman's core need is to be cherished and valued, as opposed to the
Yeah.
masculine need is to be respected and admired, right?
I feel like I understand the premise of it though. You know? I think that what he was trying, and I don't know, I haven't read the book, so let me know what you think, but I think it's just about like a woman wanting to be valued. Oh, you mentioned something about women who have healthy relationships with their fathers. You were going to say
Hmm.
something about that.
Yeah, I mean, just basically like every woman that I know that had a healthy relationship with their father, the way that they speak about him and that connection that they had, it seemed like what you're talking about is the felt sense that they had of like I'm cherished, I'm valued, like there's something precious about me to him,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
I can attest to this. Absolutely. Me and my dad were extremely close, and
Hmm.
we absolutely had that relationship. Yeah, I felt like his world, you know what I mean? And that was the best feeling in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So we've talked about like how we've talked about how you got into relationship coaching. We've talked a little bit about the dynamics. Like, what does femininity and masculinity look like, right? We talked about it's that container versus being in that soft, more inspiring role. I really love this theme or this topic of what is it that a man really needs, these core needs. I think this is such an important thing for both sides to understand about each other, right? And what a man is like craving inside is that respect and admiration. And I find that's so true because I think I read it somewhere. And actually, for a man, more important than feeling loved can be respected and admired. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, we all want to feel loved, right? But like on the hierarchy, or like where is our priorities of needs? Like, I would
Mhm.
probably place respect and admiration for a man slightly above love. Like,
Absolutely.
if we're in a relationship or I'm in a relationship with a woman and I know that she loves me, but I don't feel respected and admired, that's not enough. And I think that's a conclusion that I had to come to um in recent years, but like love sometimes is not enough. It's not enough for a
Absolutely.
good relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you're bringing this up and that you're relating it to your own experience. So, to relate it to mine, similar story.
Mhm.
Love just wasn't enough. And the reason why is because I didn't actually feel fully cherished and valued for who I was. Now that I'm thinking about this with you,
Yeah.
and I think that it was because I didn't actually feel fully seen in the
Mm.
relationship. And that's a
Mm.
piece of being valued and cherished, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. I'm so happy you brought that up. Absolutely. Love is not
Right.
enough. Yeah, it's something that I teach. It's not.
Which is, I mean, that goes back to what I said earlier about I think everybody wants to be seen and feel understood, right? Like seen and
Yeah.
understood is a core need of everybody, regardless
Yeah.
of gender or energy. If you're to coach a man or you're coaching me, what does it look like from the opposite lens, right? What does it look like in terms of, or maybe tell me both. What does it look like for a woman, you think, to show a man respect and admiration? And what does it look like for a man to show a woman that she's cherished, that she's precious, that she's valued?
Ooh, okay. Um, for a woman to show a man that he's respected, gosh, it's so many things. But the first thing that comes to my mind is trusting his ability to lead you, right? And because that shows a deep respect that you have for him. You're
Mm,
actually going to honor the way that he wants to lead the situations, and you're going to sit back and allow him to do that, right? It's kind of a subtle way of showing that you respect someone, now that I think about it. And I think that just naturally makes a man feel so respected and trusted, and he's like, yeah, okay, this is different with this woman. Yeah.
yeah, that makes no. Actually, as you're saying this makes a lot of sense, right? Like stepping back, trusting his decision making and stuff like that. I find that one, a really good leader, right, can get people to trust in him and his decision making and is really good at empowering others, right? But I mean, but you can't be a good leader if your team or the other person or the people that you're leading are constantly like skeptical of you or constantly, questioning your decision making or challenging your decision making. Like that's a
Right.
group that you can't really lead, you know? And yeah, so that makes a lot of, I mean, in that context, that makes a lot of sense. And I think, that part of the masculine energy is that providing that leadership and providing that direction and that vision. And sometimes that looks like the decision making and whatnot.
Absolutely, and he feels so respected as a man. in those moments. And that's what lights him up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's number one for men. And then for women, so for a man to make a woman feel truly valued and cherished, the first thing that comes to my mind as being the top thing is how present he is for her emotions, right?
Mm.
How much space he can hold for her and her emotions when she's expressing herself. So it's not even about like physically, like we think of like, oh yeah, flowers and like gifts and like all the things. So you know that he adores you. It's actually deeper than that. It's yeah, his ability to be like, hey, I've got you. I'm here
Mm.
with you. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm supporting you. You're held. Right. That I think that's the key. Yeah.
Okay. So for a man that doesn't know what it looks like to provide that container or that space emotionally, like from a technical place, what does that look like? Right. Because we know
Okay.
that like a lot of men are living up here and they're like, all right, well, we're living in
Yeah.
the conceptual and the emotional, but from a practical stance, like what does the application of that look like?
Okay. Yeah, let me give you an example. So, say a woman is like just getting home from work or she's been busy with the kids all day or whatever. Like she's just been handling it all. She's had an emotional day, somebody upset her, whatever it is. And she is like about to break. Like she's about to break in the evening. You come home from work and you can tell that she's kind of guarded. Like she's kind of just in her stuff and you know she needs support, right? So one, recognizing that, like, you know what? She seems a little bit tense right now. So an example would be like walking over to her, like from behind and just wrapping your arms around her, right? Or giving her a hug, like, come here, right?
Mm.
I've got you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those three words, like, it's going to be okay, right?
Mm.
And then just
Mm-hmm.
breathing with her and letting her kind of melt into you because she will. Right? If she trusts you and she loves you and you show up that way, she'll just
Mm.
melt into you. And then even further, tell me how you're feeling. What's going on? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, really listen to her,
Mm-hmm.
right? Listen to what
Yeah.
she has to say and don't try to fix her problems, right? Or offer a solution. Just be there and hold the space. That's what it would look like.
Okay. Yeah. And what comes to mind, right? Because it's been part of the conversation all day, but like if a woman is more in her masculine, well, in my experience, I find that women that are in their masculine and they haven't learned to be a little bit more in the feminine and be soft, they're actually disconnected from what they're feeling emotionally and they get stuck in the story. Like I can be like, because of probably all the therapy and the work and stuff, I'm like, okay, what is the core emotion here that I'm feeling? And I can go sort of directly to that place now. But I
Mm,
find that a lot of men and women that haven't done that work, they get wrapped up in the story and they don't know how to do this. Like, okay, but how does that situation make you feel? And what does that mean for you? You know? They don't know how to they stay at this sort of surface level. And what I want to get to, I feel like, but I don't even know if that's necessary in this example that you're giving me. Like they just want to be heard is what I'm getting from you is like, just provide the space for her to speak whatever comes up for her.
right. Okay. Yeah. So this example is going to look different. So, like in my example, I'm talking about like a feminine woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who can kind of melt into that. Now, there are women, like you said, who don't really know how, right? But I think the scenario would still be very similar. Show
Okay.
up in that way, give her that space, and see if she's then able to kind of let her guard down a little bit. She
Mm.
might not be as in tune with the emotion, as vulnerable, as willing to kind of melt into and soften into the situation, but at least you're doing your part as the masculine to hold the space. Now, if this woman is deeply wounded and deeply in her masculine energy with her shield up, she might not even let you come to her and like hold her. She might be like,
Mm.
just get off me, just probably projecting a lot of anger because she doesn't know how to process her emotions. So very
Mm,
guarded, maybe even pointing the blame at the masculine, right? This can look a lot of ways if the woman is wounded and if she has her masculine shield up. Um,
yeah. Or
yeah.
even like what I've seen too is not allowing the masculine to help or hold that space, right? Like, no, I'm good. Maybe it doesn't come out. I've seen it come out in the form of aggression, but I've also seen it in the form of like, I don't need help. I'm good. I got this.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
no, 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 we all need help.
Yeah, and in exactly, and in that case, all the masculine can do in that moment is use his words to express that. You know what? You're actually not good. I can tell. You're tense, you're XYZ. Let's talk about it. Just sit with me for a minute, right?
Mm,
And that's
okay.
all he can try to do is hold his part to kind of get her calmed down and make her feel safe. Usually that's enough to kind of get the guard down, right? But yeah, there's different ways that this could go.
Okay. What do you typically see more of, like in your work? Women that are a little bit too much in the masculine, and I don't know. Maybe I see it a lot. Maybe that's just like the projection that I have, right, or whatever. But I think it has something to do with our culture today. Um, or women that don't know how to connect to that masculine and don't know how to be assertive and place their boundaries and stuff like that, or what to look for yet.
Yeah, that's a
What?
great question.
Yeah.
More often, I see women who are operating from their masculine energy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
they're so guarded and they want to connect back to their heart and learn to be feminine. Of course, that's the kind of coach I am. So of course
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to see more than that.
Okay.
More of that. But I also, of course, do see women who struggle with asserting boundaries, have low self-worth, right? Don't stand up for themselves. That's a part of it too. But
Mm-hmm.
more often, women who are just so guarded and closed off, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Something that came to mind and that I think is interesting with the work that you're doing with women is that, you mentioned it in the very beginning, you're like, I go straight for the heart, right?
Yeah.
And you teach them to like get in tune with that. And sometimes I think that work is difficult. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it brings up a lot of emotions, right? And me being a psychologist and being in this space for a long time, what I see from a lot of other like therapists and psychologists that I actually think is an issue is they teach them techniques to manage their stress or the situation, but we don't go for that route, that understanding of like, and I guess it's probably partly this mindfulness lens that I bring to my work and my approach in my life, right? Is like, no, there's for example, the Buddha says that there's four noble truths, right? And the first one is like life is suffering, or there's suffering in life. And the second is there's a reason. And then the third is that there's like there's a reason for the suffering, and then there's like a way out of the suffering, right? And the
Mhm.
reason for the suffering is always our perspective of the situation and our attachment to it, right? Like, how are we judging this situation? And what I have seen from a lot of therapists or people in therapy is they get taught all the breath work, calm your nervous system stuff, like all that crap, which I mean, it has its place, right?
Yes.
I've seen therapists recommend people getting like an emotional support animal, or doing all these things, right? And I find that that just becomes another, at least the way that I see it, is it becomes another escape. And it's very apparent because you see that when that person doesn't have their emotional support animal, when they don't have the time to like meditate and take their breath and all this stuff, they still get triggered. They still get triggered and they still become reactive. And for me, the way that I see it is anything that is triggering you is still showing you something about yourself and your relationship to whatever that thing is.
Mhm. Beautifully said. Absolutely. Yeah. And to be honest with you, so many women that come to me have done years of therapy and they haven't had the breakthrough that they need. Or
Uh-huh.
they're like, it's just not working. Like, I still don't know why I am the way I am or what the actual root is or what I could actually do. Like, what are the actionable steps to get out of it? Like, that's how they explain it to me. And so I think that that's what makes this kind of coaching so transformative. Like you said, is that we literally go down to the deepest root of it and then we work up from there. We're not starting in the middle, right? Where like all the breath work and all the practices
Yeah.
are, those are there
Yeah.
in the middle. Those are great. We get there when we start rebuilding. Um, and so, yeah, I think that's why it's so effective. That's why in 90 days we can like really get there. And I see it like a
Mm,
house. Like I'm a very foundational learner and a foundational teacher. So it's like, okay, we have to work on the foundation first. Let's
mm,
work on all the cracks first before we can build anything else up, right?
yeah.
So a lot of the breakthroughs that happen are when we are talking about and analyzing the root and we're putting together all the pieces. And then these women are like, they're having these huge breakthroughs where it's like, oh my God, I finally see it so clear. They get so much clarity. And I'm like, okay, we nailed it. There it
Uh-huh.
is right there. And then once we know, we can work on healing it, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So I have two questions. One is the relationship coach in a relationship? And
Oh my goodness.
not that she needs to be to coach and teach others because we all learn we can all learn and stuff like that. And I think one thing too is that like I don't know, I also feel like it becomes a little bit harder to find people that you connect with the more awareness that you have about like the unhealthy relationship dynamics that people show up with, right?
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
maybe you can also end up like just like waiting longer, or being okay being alone.
Yeah, it's a great question. I really try to keep my personal life as private as possible
Okay, okay.
because everything is so, like out there, right? Out there in
Yeah,
the open with everything. And I want to respect, the relationships and the connections that I have, right? Until it gets to that place of speaking about it. But I feel like, I have so much experience in being single and in dating and in having high value relationships. So I feel like, yeah, I get the best of both worlds and,
yeah.
I'm able to kind of teach from both angles. So
Okay.
yeah.
So where do we connect with you? Where do we find more information about your program and all the stuff, all the great stuff that you're teaching?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram as Crescent Moon Tribe. That's kind of where I
Okay.
share all my good stuff, all the main stuff. I'm also on Threads, TikTok as Adriana Gaia, and
Okay.
my website crescentmoontribe.com. Yeah, you can find so much information about my coaching programs on there, and yeah, that's how you can find me. I hope to see you all there.
Cool. Well, thanks for talking with me about all this stuff. I really enjoyed it and I think that you had a lot of wisdom to share. And
Thank you.
yeah, you confirmed some things for me and also brought some new perspectives and things that I can take or chew on as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I absolutely enjoyed every moment of today. I love the way we can bounce these ideas off of each other and
Yeah.
hearing it from, divine masculine, high value man's perspective. So helpful for me too. Like I could do this all day. It's so great to kind of see the other side of it. So I really value and appreciate your time
Yeah.
and everything you shared with me. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.